Alright, today's video is doing spark plugs on a Nissan Sentra. I forgot what year it is, but you might see it in the title. And these are going to be fun because the spark plugs are under this intake manifold, which we're going to have to remove to be able to pull them out. Since we're going to be messing with the coil packs and the spark plugs, we're going to take off the negative of the battery. It's a 10mm, and she's all good. Okay, we're going to take off this vacuum line. There's this pinch clamp. So get some needle nose, squeeze it, pull it off, kind of rotate this vacuum line, and she'll come right off. We got another vacuum line back here. Same thing, you're gonna pinch it up. Okay, now that we have that off, I'm gonna take off this 12mm bolt that holds the manifold to the head. All right, next thing we're gonna do, take off this vacuum line and this electrical connector from the top of the manifold. Now with the vacuum line off, this should just press in, squeeze the clip, and it pops right off. Put that to the side. Alright, fun fact while I'm calling AutoZone, because I was about to take everything off and I was just kind of looking around, and if you see, there's a big hole in my intake tube, or in the intake tube. Alright, here's a better look of the big old hole. And all it was 2 8mm bolts, or hose clamps, and then the tube over here. And yeah, there's this whole assembly. Oh, another big hole. Nice. Alright, we're going to take off this electrical plug and squeeze down. Kind of wiggle it out. All you gotta do is squeeze down on it. Pull that off. Next is pull off these vacuum lines. So I lied. They're not vacuum lines, they are coolant lines. I think it's for like cold weather, heats it up or something like that, or vice versa. So just beware that there's going to be a little bit coolant coming out. All right, we're going to move to the 5 bolts, or 3 bolts and 2 nuts that hold on the intake manifold to the head. They're 10mm bolts. Okay, so it looks like there's like a sneaky bolt back there. I'm gonna have to go search for it real quick. And the plastic right here, it doesn't just stop right here at the plastic. It's actually attached to, like, I think these are the butterfly valves on the inside. I'll show you when it comes out. Point is, there's just a little plug, little electrical connector right here. You just squeeze on that tab and pull it right off. After looking at it, feeling it around, You can kind of see right there, there's that nub. I think that's the back side of the bolt. But this throttle body is in the way of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off this throttle body. All right, it's 4.8 mm. And now with the throttle body off, I'm gonna get to this bolt right here. What I think I have to do is take off those studs. And this is my first time ever using them, but this is an E8 external torque. So this mount right here, like I said, it had to slide straight up. You just had to put a little bit of pressure on it. And these are the little butterfly valves I was talking about. That's attached to that. But anyways, now we gotta have access to our spark plugs. Now, since you have the intake side of the head open, make sure you put some tape on it, so as you're working, all this dust and stuff does not get inside the intake, because you don't want that stuff going into the actual motor. I'm going to make sure once I pull it off to clean up everything and make sure all the dust is out before I put it back. But now, as you can see, we have access to the intake. I'm sorry. And now, as you can see, we have access to the spark plugs. Okay, I'm going to show you guys one, and then I'm going to do the other ones in a time lapse, so it's safe footage. There's a 10mm bolt and an electrical plug on the coil pack. So you're going to squeeze that, wiggle it out, put that to the side. Then we're going to take off this bolt that holds in the coil pack, coil plug. Now we're going to just pull it on up. Pull these to the side. So just for FYI, it's a 14mm spark plug. But you're going to need a special one, because this is a normal 14 socket and that fits and everything, but if you look right here, to have this fully flush so you don't strip it, it's not deep enough to put the extension and the ratchet. And if you could tell, these two are different thicknesses. So you're gonna have to get a 14mm deep well, thin walled. Well, you don't need a thin wall, but they probably do come thin walled. The point is, with this fully seated, you have plenty of space for a ratchet. And the reason why I even have this in the first place is for my Mini Cooper, because the Mini Cooper likes to use a 12-point thin wall. Like, it has to be a thin wall. If it was any thicker than this, it wouldn't go down into the head to get access to it. So FYI, 14mm, thin walled, and apparently 12-point. Go ahead and pull it up, and once it's fully disconnected, this one, it doesn't really grab the spark plug, or at least on the new one, so I don't think it'll grab on the old one. But just get like a magnet or something and it'll come up. So I got my magnet, and there you go. Alright, got my new one. Starting to screw it in. Always start by hand. You do not want to cross thread the spark plug. And then now torque them down. And she's good. Now that all 4 spark plugs are done, now we can go ahead and place everything back on. As you saw in the probably the time lapse, I put a little bit of anti-seize on it, so in the future they don't get seized up in there, and then when you think I try to replace them, something happens. But yeah, that's how you get to the spark plugs. Okay, everything's back together. You saw the new intake, new air filter, new spark plugs. Now it's just to try it out, and hopefully it runs. All right, I would say that's a success. So hopefully, if you need to do this and you don't want to pay a shop, because with the time and labor, I would say a shop will probably charge you, I would say $300 to $500, somewhere in that, just for spark plugs. So if you guys want to do it yourself, it is possible. Nothing crazy to it. You saw everything that I had to do, some extra, but relatively it's just pretty easy. I would give it like a 4 to 5 out of 10. And if you're a less experienced person, this is what this video is for, is to show you guys that there's really nothing to it. The hardest part, I would say, is probably that gasket and like preventing dirt to get inside the intake, or where the valves are. So be careful if you decide to do that. One thing I would have done before, next time, is like right before I pull off the manifold, get an air compressor or like a fan or something and blow, like a leaf blower, and just blow all the dirt away. I didn't do that before, so I had to clean up all the dust out of the valves, or the intake where it goes into the valves. But other than that, it's very straightforward. Yours might be a cleaner engine base, so you don't have to deal with that. If you want, get new gaskets and go from there. But as far as doing the maintenance, it's literally, I mean, you saw it. It might take like 3 hours or so, 3-4 hours, depending on your skill level, but it is possible. And there you go. Hopefully this helps you guys.